You won't believe what's happening right now in car sharing. You won't believe. I just saw McLaren make a right, and you won't believe what's been happening so far in the car sharing space. I'm bringing this emergency live just to let you guys know that the car industry is basically disappearing as we know it. It's disappearing because of greed. It's disappearing because of consolidation. Remember when I told you guys Turo was ushering in some new updates about car sharing? Well, those updates, it seem like they're not going to materialize anytime soon because I just heard that Uber and Turo are partnering for car sharing. So if you get on this live, I want you to go ahead and type yes, yes, yes somewhere in the description below on the chat. And I'll be leaving a link to some of these new updates that I've seen or heard through the Turo app. And these updates are for select individuals that are just now getting up to speed with what's been happening in the car sharing space, the automobile industry, and ride share. Because remember, ride sharing and car sharing are completely different. But people have been lumping them together. In fact, this the codes that the small businesses utilize to indicate the level of business that they're doing, if it was car sharing, live share, or whatever, that code continues to change. And the change to the code is primarily due to the participation of some of this industry people, okay? So again, the chat lines are open. If you're joining us, go ahead and type yes, yes, yes somewhere in the description on the comment below. What that comment is going to do is allow more people to join the live, right? This live, like I've been mentioning before, is for select individuals that are looking for a way to understand the changes that are happening within the car sharing space and how to posture themselves and their companies to be able to basically become success in life. As a live car sharing host, I've been in the industry for a while, right? And I try to share whatever that I can share that is important enough so people can take actions. Okay, so that's really what I wanted to just come online and say. Turo is now partnering with Uber because I guess the Uber rideshare thing did not work, where they could share cars, and that's why Turo, I've heard, has opened up a new way for hosts to basically have their cars rented out to the gig economy workers. So the gig economy workers are people that are like in ride share, people that are doing Uber deliveries and things of that nature. So right now, I think it's a good time to look at your business strategy if you're a Turo host and think, hey, is this strategy working for me, or are there things that I could change to improve it? And if there are things that you can change to improve it, now it's probably a good time to do that assessment, right? And what's going to happen with that assessment is going to give you an opportunity to realize that sometimes it's not just about you sharing your cars, it's about how much of that car sharing is going to necessarily result in you making money, right? You making money, you making some kind of a profit from your endeavor, and being able to, look at the strategies that the current administration and whoever takes office in January, whatever administration is in office, what policies and strategies are they going to implement that is going to allow small businesses, and I even submit to you some large people and businesses to come into this space, come into the car sharing space. Now, this update that I'm giving you right now is not just an exclusive. I just thought I'd come out live and present some of the facts, present how that's going to impact you, specifically if you're looking to upgrade your vehicles. Again, another thing that I've noticed in the industry is a lot of car dealerships, they've been financing cars using independent companies that are linked to the dealerships. All right. The other thing that I've heard too is, the credit unions, the banks, they're not financing as much as as they did in the previous quarters, and couple that with the fact that the car prices are basically going down, right? So you have a mix of data points that are basically saying that now is probably a good time to get into car sharing because number one, the rules are being changed, and when you change the rules, it's going to only lead to increase in opportunities, right? But you have to be able to size up those opportunities when they do come up because again, these opportunities are not just going to present themselves, right? You just have to be able to look and you have to be in tuned to exactly people like me that are sharing some of these trends and how these trends can allow you as a car sharing host or somebody that's looking to get into the car sharing business to become more of a value add to the customers. Remember, like our slogan says, car shares, our main objective is to link the car sharing guest with a car sharing host for an awesome ride experience. And I'll tell you something that continues to baffle me, and I've been talking about how this could be a problem going forward, but people are not realizing that it's a big problem. And the reason I think it's a big problem is that the time it takes to implement a new strategy and the time it takes to deploy that strategy are basically a risk. And that risk, the way I'm describing this risk, is that the opportunity cost of actually making money because something isn't ready is immense. Okay, it's immense, and it's been impacting a lot of small businesses that don't know how to adjust fire. For example, another thing that Turo is doing right now, which I thought was a little bit weird and crazy, is that Turo is allowing people to limit the mileage on their cars. But I don't know to what extent that is also going to allow the actual folks that own the car to make money off of this stuff. Okay, and this is again another situation where and strategies gets implemented, but the level to which that strategy is either going to accrue to the benefit of the owners of that strategy. In this case, the owners of that strategy would be the hosts. And because this is not going to be something that gets implemented right away, you're probably going to see a slowdown in profits. Okay, you're going to see a slowdown in profits, and you're probably going to see a downward pressure on delivering on some of the promise. Okay, so be a downward pressure, and that downward pressure, you may not have enough incentives to defray the downward pressure that's going to result from lower than expected revenue. And I'll tell you something else when it comes to revenue that I heard. It's an update that you need to worry about. I heard, and in fact I saw it, that the Boeing company, 33,000 workers basically said, we're leaving because we're not getting paid enough. So they're on strike at the Boeing company. And so what does that portend for other industries where they rely so much on the labor force to be able to make profit? So again, this is what I was talking about. So you can say rideshare is one of those industries where they rely on the labor force, in this case, the labor force that's coming from the rideshare host to be able to make money. What would happen then if the rideshare hosts become unionized? And they become unionized because either the work conditions, the conditions of their particular job is not conducive enough for them to make enough money. You think about that for a second. That is another issue that most people are not addressing. And I'll submit to you that the class action lawsuits that Uber has already done and is dealing with right now, some of those drivers and delivery drivers, they saying there's a class action lawsuit, and the reason they're doing this class action lawsuit is because they are not experiencing the level of profits from their effort. They're putting in a lot of work and they're not getting a corresponding return on their investments. Their profits are going down. The share that they get from the revenues is going down, and it continues to be a huge problem industry-wide. I can go right now to a dealership with the intention of getting a car that I can then put into the rideshare space, only to find out that the car is either not available, because sometimes there are cars that get put on the platforms that are not completely ready to be put on the platforms. You couple that with the fact that the overburden information that they're placing on the host makes it almost impossible to be able to meet the service level agreements. Okay, and these service level agreements are pretty good. So I read the terms of service of your Turo. Read the terms of service and see to what extent the terms of service have changed to the point where it's now impacting the delivery of that service. And if that's the case, I submit to you that you probably are in a situation to be able to argue for more incentives. Okay, but again, remember, arguing for incentives doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get what it is that you're asking for, right? You just have to be very, very systematic in the approach that you use to bring some of these issues to light. Okay, and that's why I was doing this live. So right now, somewhere in the description below, you can join this YouTube channel, and when you join the channel, it's going to allow you to make some comments during the live, and these comments, you'll be getting shout outs from me personally when you make these comments. Okay, I review the comments, but if it's a comment that's worthwhile and it's a comment that makes sense for the channel, I typically will give you a shout out. So the link to join the channel is somewhere in the description below. And when you join the channel, you'll be put into our exclusive list of folks that could get discounts on merch. Okay, talking about merch, there's some new merch that I put on there. The links to the merch are available somewhere in the description below. Now, if you have a question that you would like me to address in a future live, either a question that's pertaining to you as a consumer, or a question that pertains to you as a small business. Oh, by the way, I do consulting. I also do sponsorship. So if you're a small business and you want to reach the car share audience through the YouTube channel, I can do sponsorship for you. Just look at the community side and get at me if you want to do sponsorship. So the YouTube channel is ready for that right now. So that's what I wanted to talk about. I didn't want to spend a lot of your time. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll be bringing you more relevant information on my next live. Carsharing out.